Hi, everybody. It's Andrew here at the Forex Trading Coach. Welcome along to another video and podcast. I'm really pleased today to be joined by Dr. Dave Bonanno over in the US. Dave, welcome along. Nice to have you here.
Thanks. Yeah, great to be here.
Really looking forward to this because quite often in trading, we talk about strategy and we're always talking about indicators and charts and things like that. But today we want to bring it back to something that applies to everybody, no matter what type of trader you are, whether you're a fundamental trader, technical trader, a mix. And it's really important that you start to understand your mindset within trading. And that's why Dr. Dave here today is here and how he's going to help you and all of us listening and watching with the mental aspect of trading. So, Dr. Dave, maybe you can start about introducing yourself, what you do, and how you help traders out there.
Okay, great. Yeah. So I started off as a therapist who was really trying to help people with problems, especially PTSD. And most people don't really know what PTSD is. Like, if you look it up, there's no definition, it's just a list of symptoms. So, the way that I define it now is that it's when you have adrenaline and it just is overactive. And the thing to know is that when you have adrenaline, it makes your logical brain go offline. So I maintain that adrenaline is every trader's enemy. And it doesn't mean that you're in full fight or flight or that you're afraid or that you're angry. It can affect us in a lot of ways that we're not even really aware of. And so if you like read other mindset books or listen to other people who talk about the psychology of trading, they talk about changing your thoughts. But what I'm really all about is how to engage with your subconscious in a way so that it doesn't contaminate what you're doing on a moment by moment basis.
Interesting. So you're taking a slightly different approach to it. So on a just to give, I know we're at the beginning, but to give a summary at the beginning on a like a practical basis, someone's out there trying to identify a trade setup or they're in a trade maybe. What do you do that could help them with those scenarios?
Right. So I had this trader named Tony, and he was really successful in his career, and he wanted to gear up for retirement.
Mm,
And he was a very logical guy, and he could understand intellectually probabilities and all that. But when money was on the line, especially when he was trying to scale, or even when he was trying to take payouts from the prop firms, he would find himself just not quite making the right decisions. So of course he looked at his strategy and at his technical skills.
mm.
But I think what he didn't realize at the time was sometimes adrenaline would get in the way. And so that could be like if he was putting pressure on himself to provide a financial security for him and his family, or if he couldn't really accept losses all that well.
Right.
And I'm not even talking about like, yeah, I'm not talking about like throwing a tantrum or anything, but like his wife would notice that he wasn't in a very good mood after he had a red day.
Mm.
And so yeah, we needed to look at what was going on for him subconsciously. And we all could try to think like, well, I'm pretty much in control of my emotions, or I didn't really notice, what was happening for me in the moment. But we're talking about subconscious stuff, and by definition, that's what we're not aware of.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, one of the things I do first is I help people to identify what exactly is going on for them, and it doesn't mean that we have to go back in the past and blame your parents for everything like I was taught to do as a therapist, but we use eye movements, which is like EMDR. If people don't know what that is, it's the most researched uh, intervention for PTSD that there ever was, and I'm sure you probably even know people who've done it. So anyway, that kind of allows us to interface with your emotional brain. So like we have two brain systems that are
Mm.
at play at the same time. It's kind of like two TV shows that are superimposed on each other, and you can't just ignore one of them.
Right.
And sometimes our yeah, so sometimes our head and our heart is in sync, but a lot of times it isn't, at least as much as we'd like to think that it is. So yeah, if we can actually like kind of interface with that part of our brain, that's the part that makes our logical brain go offline. So we still do need that emotional part. Like it's sort of like when you're dreaming, then you wake up and your logical brain thinks, "Oh, that was crazy," but that's really because the logical brain was out of the way and it's
Mhm.
coming on, with your emotions. So what I'm getting at is that when you're able to move your eyes, that's what allows you to connect with your heart. It's great for journaling because instead of trying to go back and guess at what you were doing
Mm.
subconsciously, it really kind of helps you to get there. And that's what we did for Tony.
Interesting. And so his results, what, improved dramatically after some time?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he's doing awesome now. He just showed me a picture of a house he wants to buy in Florida, and he needed to help his parents out, and he was putting a lot of pressure on himself that he wasn't really quite aware of, and
Mhm.
that's going to add adrenaline. And
Mm.
like yeah, so like if you look at advice from other trading coaches or mindset coaches, they're like, okay, well, you have to control your emotions and you have to use your willpower in order to kind of um push them aside and focus on what you need to.
Yeah.
And that can work sometimes, but it doesn't work all the time. And if you're telling somebody who's full of adrenaline that they need to calm down, that's kind of like telling somebody who's full of alcohol that they need to be sober. Like
Yeah,
it
yeah,
just,
yeah.
it,
Hard to
yeah,
beat.
it's, yeah, yeah, I know, I'm trying. Um, but yeah, so I think instead of trying to use your willpower and then blaming yourself when it doesn't really work, and then
Mm.
people start to go into a cycle, right? Like they start to doubt themselves
Yeah,
and they start
yeah.
to think, well, maybe I'm a weak person or whatever. And really, I think they're just kind of setting themselves up for failure by
Mm.
expecting their body and their mind to react in ways that it's not set up for it. Because once again, like when you're in fight or flight, your brain is designed to go offline. Like if you're in the forest and you see a bear or something,
Mm.
you're not supposed to be going through all the pros and cons of the options. Like you need to be running away or fighting it, which
That's right.
um
Yeah.
s- yeah, so that's just how we're built. So when we're trading and there's like people can follow their rules fine if there's not too much pressure, but when you're scaling up or when you're trying to make this one big trade, that's going to really help you out, or if you're trying to get like a good feeling, like if you're a little bit maybe addicted to trading, you're doing it to feel good,
Mm.
then it's going to backfire, and then the harder you try, the more you're feeding energy into that negative cycle.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I get a lot of people over the years that come to me and they have this exact issue. And a lot of people, unfortunately, when they get into trading, they have this mindset. And look, I did exactly the same over 20 years ago. You get into it, it's new, it's exciting, you think you're going to make lots of money. Then you start looking at charts and lines and dots and arrows and indicators, and you think, wow, this is awesome. I'm going to look at this crosses this, I'm going to buy here and make a fortune. And then you soon realize it doesn't work. And you then or the other issue I notice that a lot of people have is they overtrade so much. They want to go down to these very short time frame charts because they believe the more they trade, the more they're going to make. And you used the word just now about being addicted, whether it's alcohol or addicted to things. And I find that so many people have that they're trigger happy. They got to click, 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 and trace, and and of course, inevitably, it will end up losing for them. And then their
Yeah.
whole mindset starts that whole self-doubt or they get to that stage where they'll go, I've had so many losing trades, this one's bound to win, and they do something stupid on it, or they see the best setup that they've had all day and they don't take it because they're scared because they've lost so many other trades. There's all these mix of emotions going on, and it results in not being a good trader.
Yeah, that's great. That's totally what I come across as well. And like when I made the transition to working with traders, it was great because it's there's just so much psychology there.
Yeah, yeah.
And And yeah, like I think sometimes, people don't really want to admit that because they don't want to be thinking of themselves as like, crazy or whatever.
Mm,
But if you're like, for example, an athlete who wants to be in the very top of your game,
mm.
of course you have to work on the physical, but you have to work on the mental as well.
That's right.
And so if you want to be a trader who's in the top 5% who makes money, there's just no way around it. I mean, nobody's so good technically that they're going to be able to cover their emotional mistakes, right? I mean, it's just like you can't. So yeah, I think, one thing that's really interesting to me is how the research shows that happy people in general have a less accurate picture of the world than people who are depressed.
Mm,
And the reason I bring that up is because I think we all like to believe that we know what we're doing. And when somebody's in a situation like you're talking about, when they get trigger happy,
mm,
their logical brain is compromised and it's making rationales for why they should do it again, right? Like, oh well, it's got to work out this time, or like, the gambler's fallacy, or like like maybe this time I'm thinking about it correctly or not, or all the types of things that people tell themselves.
mm.
And it's I think one thing that really happens is when you feel bad about something, and like it can happen to all of us. Like you could make the perfect decision, but the market just doesn't go your way. You'll never know exactly why that was,
Mm.
but because we want to feel in charge, we take on that responsibility and think, well, I did something wrong. And then you can either show restraint and hold back, or I think like most of us, maybe even us men, we want to do something. We want to fix it. Right. So like it feels so much more powerful to actually be active than to use restraint and just wait for your perfect setup. So I mean, I see this all the time, and yeah, it can be such a slippery slope that
Mm.
if you get angry or frustrated or anxious or afraid, you're adding adrenaline to the whole equation, which is going to make you do worse, which is going to just increase your adrenaline as well. And this doesn't have to happen in just the course of one session. Like I recently talked to a guy who lost $700,000 over the course of 3 months, and he just wasn't fully aware of what was going on for him subconsciously.
Yes.
So it's a really hard thing to do. I mean, you could go to therapy and talk about your subconscious all day, but you're still doing that consciously, and it doesn't really work. But what I do is I try to be really quick and effective and use these eye movements, and then we just clear things up right away. So like that's kind of what happened with Tony as well. So I would imagine, Andrew, that you must get frustrated, I would think, sometimes when you're giving people solid advice that they should follow. They know they should follow it, and then they come back to you and they're like, I just didn't. I just couldn't, right? Like what do people even say?
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It is frustrating because people seem to always want to reinvent the wheel. And it's like, you don't need to. That's why you joined us. We have the wheel, it works, I can promise you.
Yeah.
And it comes along from I think social media right now is a big negative for everything that we have to almost put up with as people who like to help or coaches. Because they're out there seeing the flash Lamborghinis and Ferraris and all the rest of it, and they think that's how it has to be. I actually say to people, the honest truth is good trading is boring. And I
Mhm.
mean that in a really good and honest way, in that you need to be doing the same thing on a daily basis. And as we're finding out from our chat, to remove the emotions as much as possible, stick to the principle of what you're seeing. One thing that I am massive on from a practical trading point of view, well, two things. One, we keep our risk very low and controlled on every single trade.
Mhm.
And I think that helps massively. You don't get those huge fluctuations of emotions of those big wins or those big losses. So
Right.
every trade, it doesn't matter what the market we're trading, whether it's a forex or non-forex, or it doesn't matter the time frame or direction or stop loss. Every trade has the same low and equal risk. So I'm
That
now
and
trading.
I'm sorry, I don't wanna put words in your mouth, but do you find that people agree with you 100% on that intellectually, and then when they're like, "Oh, but this one looks so good," and then they risk more than they should? Does
No, they
that
don't
sometimes?
agree. That's the problem to start with. They
Oh,
think
okay.
a lot of people don't. That it becomes the issue. Well, some do and some don't. The ones that don't go off and do their own, you know, risk or no risk or stupid risk, and then almost everyone will then come back and go, "Oh, I realized that what you told me, like 3 months ago or 6 months ago, I should have done." And that's their almost need to find that moment for themselves and figure it out for themselves. It's like, I told you, but I can't say I told you so because that doesn't help right now. Um, but you can feed all this information to people, and some people will still go off and break those rules and do their thing. But the good ones
Yeah, geez.
will circle back and come back and go, "Oh, I went off and found some other course and some other strategy. I realized that was rubbish. I realized what I got from you a year ago is really good, and now I'm back doing it, and I want to start again." That happens quite a bit. Um, the other thing that I think that helps with the way that we trade is not only is our risk low and control per trade, but our reward is high on our trades. So our profitable trades sort of we kind of step. We have little sort of losses, bigger step, little losses, bigger step, and we everybody shows this perfect equity curve. We don't have that. We have like a little low controlled losses, bigger 2, 3, 4 times the risk on a profitable trade. Um, and the slight issue that some people have with that is that some people want to see that like 90% win rate. A lot of people I find get caught up with the win rate. And I give them the classic example of a true example. Many years ago, someone had they showed me like a 90% winning system that they had, but they were still losing money because they
Yeah,
didn't
right,
have
yeah.
the money management correct. As a very basic example, let's say they were, let's say making 10 pips on a trade and they made 9 trades profitable at 10 pips each. So they made 90, but that one losing trade lost 100 pips. So,
Yeah.
as a very basic example, but they were basically going, "Oh, I've got a 90% win rate. Aren't I good? But I'm losing money."
Right, yeah, and I bet that was kind of attractive to them because you get that positive reinforcement. I mean,
That's
like,
right.
if you're yeah, if you're winning 9 times out of 10, it feels great, and then, "Oh,
So,
well, shoot."
but I'm
Yeah.
losing that one damn trade. I've lost money. So there's all these different like approaches that people have, and that's I suppose the exciting thing from trading, isn't it? That there's no one approach that fits everybody.
Right, and, I mean, like, to talk about, what you experience with your clients sometimes when they come back to you and they say, I finally learned my lesson,"
Mm,
Like, I mean, I have kids and try to tell them what to do, and of course, they don't wanna hear it, and then I
nah,
have to just really yeah, just watch them make mistakes, and hopefully they'll make enough mistakes while they're young and the stakes are still low before
yes,
they go out into the world, yeah, and then do stupid shit.
that's right. Yeah, and I suspect that you and me exactly the same when we were kids.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, geez.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew everything when I was a kid.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that how the cycle keeps going. Well, a question I wanted to ask you, and this is something I'm personally starting to just change my opinion on, is that I always used to say to people, start on a demo account, make the mistakes on a demo account of the platform and the lot sizes, etc. Then go to a small live account, then go bigger when you're profitable. I'm almost starting to say to people now, don't spend so much time on demo. Sure, use the demo to understand how a new trading platform, the software works. But I'm finding now that people that go onto a small live account are feeling those emotions like more realistic that you can never get on a demo. How would you kind of approach that?
Yeah, isn't that interesting? You could try as hard as you can to recreate a situation like that for yourself, and it's just not the same. It's
Mm.
it's really like professional athletes, they practice, but you can only practice so much until
Yeah.
the game is on the line. And I think one thing that really happens is that we get into a flow state. So when things are the way they're supposed to be, it's kind of like you're really focused on the charts, you're really focused on what you're doing, and then it's like, oh my God, the session's almost over. You need to be using your intuition. But if you're overthinking too much, that's certainly not going to work.
Mm.
But if you're also like distracted by your emotions, or by thinking about, oh, what is this going to mean if, like, if you win this trade, like, I don't know how much of a sports fan you are, but I can't stand sports interviews, because they'll be like, what were you thinking at this point when it happened? And the guy's like, I don't know, just see the ball and hit the ball. I mean, like,
Yeah.
that's really all there is.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that
So
makes
yeah,
sense. Yeah.
and then I like how you said that trading should kind of be boring.
Mm.
And there's intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. So extrinsic motivation is you're doing something for the reward, and of course, that's part of it. Intrinsic motivation is just because you like it.
Yes.
So like if
Yes.
yeah, like if you just like trading, then that's great. And if you're caught up in the extrinsic, it's actually not only going to add to your adrenaline, but it replaces the intrinsic motivation. So if I could just give you a quick example, like, they had children read over the summer, they tracked how much they did. Then the next summer, they paid them to read. So of course, you'd think they'd read so much more. But what happened was it became a job for them, and that just took all the fun out of it. So yeah, if you're too focused on why you're doing this, other than just because I like it and I get into a flow state, then I think that's just gonna mess you up eventually.
Yeah, that's interesting because, yeah, no, that's a great point. I say to people, look, because of the time zone that I live in here in New Zealand, the Forex market opens on a Monday morning for me. It's your Sunday afternoon in the US. And I say to people, I love Monday mornings, because most people have that, oh, goodness, it's Monday. I've got to
That's
go to
right.
work.
Yeah.
I love it because, up until cryptos came around, we could not trade at the weekends. The Forex market shut at New York 5 p.m. on a Friday and open on a Sunday at 5 p.m. And yeah, so I just say to people, I love Mondays. I absolutely can't wait for Monday morning to come and start trading again. And you're exactly right, because unfortunately, again, and it kind of comes back to that social media issue again, is that so many people who are not trading, they discover trading and they see it as their kind of like their ticket out of their life's financial problems. And I get that conversation on a phone or an email, with people, non-clients, far too often. And I say to them, look, it's not your golden ticket out of financial problems. It's not going to replace your job like in 6 months. Don't think of it like that. You have to want to have that enjoyment of looking at the charts or reading the news, whichever type of trader you are, and actually doing it and like challenging yourself to do well and to figure out what's happening in the world and all these different things. You've got to actually really get excited by that. If you like that, then you'll keep doing it and you'll be disciplined, and then the money will follow. But don't just jump straight into it expecting to become a multimillionaire with your $1,000 account.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because if you're like, I think people are as happy as their expectations are in relationships or in activities that they're doing. And yeah, if you're expecting too much,
Mm.
it's going to take away so much of your energy and motivation. And to talk to what you had said, like, if you like trading, then that's what's going to center you, right?
Yes.
Because you can't be up and down with your emotions and how you feel. And you really have to get into like just the nuts and bolts of, this is the setup and this is my thought process, or my intuition. And that's something I had to learn as a therapist. Like, I don't, or as a coach, really.
Mm.
I don't coach so that I can make people money. I coach because when I get a new client, I'm curious, like, oh, right, what set of problems or issues are coming in to my door, and what can we do about it? I don't wake up like, oh, I'm going to save this person. It's just more like, and then, if the outcome doesn't go my way, I don't have to get too upset about it. I mean, of course I care, but yeah, if you're a trader and you can ground yourself and remind yourself why you're doing this, and then also I think this is a really fine point that people sometimes don't understand. If you're trading to feel good, then that's going to mess you up too. Like, you need to trade because you like it on a deep level and you want to make money. You don't do it because, your wife left you and your dog died and I just want to get a hit of dopamine. Like, that's not going to work out, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly right. And another thing, I think it'd be really interesting to hear your thoughts on is one thing I pride ourselves on is not only do we just have one strategy, but we have a massive community and we're all trading that one strategy. When I started out, it was I'm talking 20 plus years ago now. It was in the early days of a couple of trading forums. And you used to go onto these forums because, trading's a lonely business, otherwise, no
It
one
is,
really
yeah.
understands what you're doing, even today. And back then, don't forget that was the dial-up internet days. Like, and you just and
Oh,
you
yeah, right.
wait for half an hour to get a connection.
Yeah.
But I used to go onto forum sites, and then you'd find a thread that someone created this strategy, and then every time someone would come in and go, "I think it should add this indicator," and it just blew out into a complete argument and a mess. And I realized that when I started the coaching, I didn't want that situation happening because it frustrated me when I was learning. So one of the things I'm really proud of is our community that we have on our forum site and webinars that we hold. That everybody, no matter what stage of the journey they're on, they're all out there trading the one system, but they're all out there helping each other. And I find that having that backup to follow someone, to watch someone, to ask someone is such an underestimated part of a trader's success.
Yeah, that's great. And you're right. It is such a lonely job. I mean, you're looking at screens and yeah, how's your spouse supposed to understand really what you're going through? And of course, they probably get sick of you talking about it too.
Yeah.
But, yeah, isn't that such a great feeling is to be able to help each other? And I trust that your people are good at sharing their losses, right? Because I think, whatever you focus on, you magnify. And if you want clicks, like if you're an influencer, you want clicks, you're going to be selling the dream. And it's really like, I'm sorry to be crude, but it's kind of like, you go on social media and you just see these people masturbating and you think like, well, why can't I do that?
Mhm.
And they seem relatable. They're real people. It's not like they're on TV and they're celebrities. Like, it's real people. And then they always say, you can do what I did if you, and of course, buy my stuff. But I hope that in your community, in your forums, like people are real with each other, right?
Absolutely. There's everything on that. And we, just before we started, I just posted 2 winning trades and a losing trade that happened overnight. And we post all of our trades profitable and not because you can still learn from those. We're not out there looking like, look at me, all these beautiful profitable trades. I'll post trades that lose. And, all we're going back to is that same thing is that our losses were controlled, but the setup that we took at the time looked very good. Otherwise, we wouldn't have taken it. And the market, something happened, it didn't go in our favor. Okay, that's a shame. We don't like that, but it's the way it is. But our losses controlled. And, but then the profitable trades that we have made up for that loss plus more. And so I'm a firm believer in we show everything, and that's the beauty of hosting trades like on a daily basis for people right around the world to look at and follow.
That's
And
great.
it teaches them the I suppose the discipline of these people who have done this for years and years still have losing trades. And that's fine to have, providing you look back and go, oh, you fool, you shouldn't have taken that because of A, B, and C. Even that's a lesson. But, hopefully we don't do that very often. Um, but the market sometimes will do what the market wants to do. You can have an A grade setup and it doesn't work. And that's part of the lesson, the discipline, the journey.
Right. And it's really hard, I think, for a lot of people to be comfortable with not knowing something. So yeah,
Mm,
if the outcome isn't what you wanted, it could have been one of a million things,
yeah.
and you can never really, right? So I mean, of course, you're gonna gauge your outcomes, and you're gonna journal and what went right and what went wrong, but it's every single time you're really just inferring the probability of what happened, and you don't have that real solid ground to feel comfortable on, right? Like you're
Mm.
just always kind of guessing to some degree, and you have to be okay with that. And I think it is really, really helpful to have other people remind you of that, because yeah, we could tell ourselves all day, oh, I'm gonna have losses, and I'm not a perfect person or whatever. But if you actually have somebody else remind you of that, like, dude, you're still doing good, you're still like,
That's right.
good person, then I think that's, yeah, crucial.
It is
So
huge.
that's really cool.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Dave, how can someone find you and what are they going to like? What situation scenario are they going to be in to say, I need this guy's help?
Yeah, great. So I don't want to sound like everybody has mindset problems, but I do want to underscore how there's just a lot of things going on that, once again, we're not fully aware of.
Mm,
And it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you or anything. So yeah, I've worked with a whole bunch of people, and some of them had issues in their regular life and some of them really didn't. As a matter of fact, that's one thing I like about working with traders as opposed to PTSD, because if they say, you are who you associate with, I was like, oh my God, I've been associating with the most damaged people in society for decades. But so yeah, I love working with traders. You can look me up at www.maxdiscipline.com, or we'll have links. I just published a book on Amazon called The Consistently Calm Trader, and people have been having really good feedback for me there. And if you wouldn't mind, Andrew, I'd like to just give one more tip to your audience,
mm,
which is the best way to handle losses is not to get upset or try harder or even to try to ignore how you feel about it. If you can actually be sad, and I know nobody wants to feel sad, but if the market doesn't go your way today, and you can just actually literally feel that, like, sad about it for even like 10 minutes, then you're not adding any type of adrenaline to the equation, and you're accepting reality as opposed to, well, it shouldn't have happened this way, or I should have done this. That's not reality if you're talking about what should have happened. And then because you can accept reality, you can move on and come to it later with a clean slate. Does that make sense?
That's a really interesting approach. I like that. Very simple, but easy to do.
Yeah, you got to be sad.
Yeah, well, that's good because not people don't tell you those type of things.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, people don't wanna hear it.
Yeah.
It's good. That's a really good approach. I like it because you have to be able to, like, the whole phrase of "get back on the horse tomorrow." Um, and if you're still angry because of yesterday's losses or the market didn't do what I thought it should do, and you're still, like, venting over that, how on earth can you expect to approach the next trade or the next day with any clarity?
Yeah, and you can't just tell yourself, "Oh, well, I'll forget it and I'll be fine." No, it's just that's not the way to go. Like, you have to address these things. And so, I don't know how it is in New Zealand, but here in the States, like, I can't stand how everybody's trying to live their best life all the time. And if you ask somebody how they doing, and if they don't say awesome, then you're like, "Oh my God, well, what's wrong? Like, what's wrong with you?" Like, I mean, of course, I like about us here in the States that we strive, we have really high expectations,
Yeah.
but I think it can really backfire for a lot of people. And then, yeah, if you're on social media and you're seeing all these people with their Lambos and their houses and stuff, I mean, it's just going to get you down. So yeah, if you could be sad, you could accept where you are, what has happened, and then you can get right back on the horse and go where you need to go.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, thank you so much today, Dr. Dave. I love chatting to you, and I think this has been massively beneficial. As you mentioned, we'll put links to your site on here as well, so if anybody can click on that and find out more about what you do. And yeah, thank you for your time. It's been thoroughly enjoyable, and I think it's been massively helpful for everybody. Thank you very much.
Oh, so glad to hear that. Yeah, it was really fun for me too, and thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.